One thing we have noticed in the last couple of days, this is not all of the polls that are out there now, but we have seen a number, 4 in the last 4 days, that have shown very small, but in the context of this close race, potentially meaningful movement in Trump's direction. I don't want to overstate it, but at the same time, it's hard to ignore these 4. The CNBC poll came out the other day, has Trump ahead by 2. The Wall Street Journal poll, Trump ahead by 3. These are national numbers. Siena and the New York Times, a tied race. CNN, a tied race. The significance here is broader movement. Again, we're seeing in Trump's direction.
Yeah. Welcome to the party, pal. We've known this for weeks, but now even the legacy media is having to admit it, and they got no choice. Why doesn't he tell them that Trump almost always overpolls by 2 to 3 points nationally? Oh my, they're going to love that. The Kamala campaign is tanking. It appears officially in North Carolina and Nevada. We're getting word that they're pulling their money out and desperately trying to prevent Virginia from falling as well. Butter the popcorn. You are going to love this. Hey, gang, it's me, Dr. Steve, your Patriot Professor, here to help you stay sane in these insane times. You know what to do as you're gathering on in here. Make sure to smack that bell and subscribe button. It is my commitment to give you the best election analysis out there, so you're not going to want to miss a single video in these final days leading up to the big day. So make sure to smack that bell and subscribe button. You know, we're going to dive right in here. Like I said yesterday, the election is basically done right now. All this flailing, and but by the way, did you see the senator from Puerto Rico endorse Trump? I mean, if that, you know, you can't write this stuff. You can't. Right before I'm going on air here, I find out the senator from Puerto Rico endorsed Trump. I mean, you can't make this stuff up. The legacy media cannot catch a break. But in these final days, pretty much everyone has already made up their mind. If past this prologue, pretty much everyone has made up their mind. These final days are now all about analyzing all the data that's coming in hot and heavy and trying to figure out what's going on. And what's going on is that the floor appears to be caving in on the Kamala Harris campaign. Word is out that Harris is pulling millions of dollars worth of radio ads from North Carolina. Our good friend Rich Barris was talking about this on his live stream yesterday. He said he got word that she pulled a few $1 million worth of radio ads out of North Carolina. That appears to have been widely corroborated as of today. So a big shout out to Rich, giving us as listeners an early inside scoop there, beating the headlines. Apparently, Kamala is indeed pulling millions of dollars out of North Carolina because, frankly, it's gone. It's gone. It's officially slipped through her fingers. Not that it was ever within her grasp in the first place, but we're seeing it in the early voting. The Republicans are absolutely crushing it in North Carolina. We're going to see Trump with his biggest margin of victory ever, either in 2016 or 2020. We have never seen early voting dominance by the Republican Party ever, even remotely like we're seeing now. She has lost North Carolina. And I got to be honest, I do agree with the assessment. There is the view out there among analysts, political analysts, that North Carolina is not a legitimate swing state. We don't have 7 swing states. We have 6. North Carolina does not belong on there. Yes, the margin of victory is often in the low single digits for the Republican. It's always a Republican who wins, but it's usually within the low single digits. I think if it's under 5, consistently under 5, that counts as a swing state because it's, you know, it's the challenger has a shot within the margin of error there. But for heaven's sake, I mean, they've got a Republican supermajority in their state legislature. They're a deep red state at this point. Mike Whatley, who's the chairman now of the RNC, along with Laura Trump, he is from North Carolina, and he helped turn that state into a deep red state, as he is doing to the country as a whole. So Kamala appears to be officially done in North Carolina, and she is pulling the money out of that state to defend what should be a rather deep blue state, Virginia, which Biden won by 10 points. And Virginia is literally, I mean, we're getting polls out that are showing that either Virginia is within the margin of error or they are tied in Virginia. It's absolutely insane. And it's not just North Carolina that she's pulling out of. We had a video yesterday that featured the liberal political commentator John Ralston of NPR, and he was analyzing the early election returns coming out of Nevada. And Ralston's basically saying it's over. That Kamala's got no chance of even coming close to winning in Nevada. Republicans are right now plus 40,000 in their early voting in Nevada. Now, keep in mind, back in 2020, it was the opposite. The Democrats had amassed, by this time, a 40,000 firewall for the Republicans and in Nevada. And I mean, this is literally the mirror image. We're Republicans have completely inverted it. It's absolutely astonishing. And so Ralston's basically coming out and saying there's no way around this. She just can't win. And so we're getting word out that she has pulled her money out of Nevada and putting it into Virginia as well. We're also noting that the early vote in Nevada is what makes it so devastating is it's made up of primarily low to no prop voters for the Republicans, whereas for Democrats, they're more high prop voters. Now, if you don't know, low to no prop voters or voters who have either voted only in one of the last four elections or did not vote at all in the last four elections. So that's what we mean by low propensity to no propensity voter. A high propensity voter is a voter that's voted in four of the last four elections. So they're guaranteed to vote. They will vote, no question. The problem, though, is when you have high prop voters turning out for your early vote, you're in effect cannibalizing your election day vote. Whereas if your early vote is dominated by low to no prop voters, then you're just going to crush it on election day with the high prop voters who are guaranteed to show up because that's what high prop voters do by definition. So the Republicans are exemplifying an electoral strength we've just never seen in the state of Nevada. The vast majority of their votes, or at least a significant portion of their early vote, are low to no prop voters, whereas a significant portion of the Democrats' early vote are high prop voters. So the Democrats are not only losing the early vote in Nevada, but they are also churning through more of their high prop voters. And low to no prop are not guaranteed to come out on election day. It's just, again, by definition. And they're doing it as well in Arizona. The latest in Arizona is absolutely astonishing. Check this out. Arizona Republicans have now amassed 130,000 early vote advantage over Democrats. That's a near, if you got your pencils, 8% margin. That's an 8% victory margin right now. This is insane. At this rate, they're going to easily win. Again, they could end up winning at 8%. I'm going to give the benefit of the doubt that there's going to be some equilibrium there. But at this point, it looks like Republicans are going to win Arizona by 5%. That's huge. And by the way, that should be more than enough to pull Kari Lake over the finish line because Kari tends to overperform her polls by around that 5% mark. Larry Schweikert is arguing, he's in Arizona. He's arguing that the Kamala campaign knows they've lost Arizona. They know they've lost Nevada. They know they've lost Georgia. They know they've lost North Carolina. Gang, that's the entire Sun Belt. That's the Sun Belt right there. It's gone. 4 of the 7 swing states gone. Of course, they lost Florida, but Florida's not even a swing state anymore. Florida may end up voting to the right of Texas this year, which is insane. They've, of course, lost Ohio, which is deep red. They've lost Iowa, which is deep red, which, by the way, both of Florida, Ohio, and Iowa were all Obama states. And they're significantly behind their firewall numbers from 2020 in Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania Democrats are now officially not going to get anywhere near a 500,000 early vote firewall. They're more than 50% off from where they were in 2020 when they had a 1.1 million firewall, early vote firewall. Even Elon is doing cartwheels over this. He noted that Republicans are doing nearly 500,000 votes better than Democrats versus the same date in 2020. And with that 1.1 million vote early vote firewall, Democrats in the end only managed to squeak out an 80,000 vote margin victory. So the Republicans just poised to absolutely crush the Democrats at this point. Betting markets are absolutely through the roof. I don't know if you've been taking a look at the betting markets of late. Now, remember, betting markets are not predictive. They're reactive. But they do indicate who got the mojo, who's got the momentum, which is it's so key. And like in sports, it's so key in the last 7 days. And as you can see, according to Kalshi, I mean, Trump's absolutely running away with this. But of course, CNN will tell you it's neck and neck. It's neck and neck. I mean, at least in terms of the betting markets, I mean, this is just, I mean, what do you say? Trump with a 62% chance of winning the White House, whereas Harris has dropped to 38%. I just did a video earlier today. This is the first time now that all betting market sites have Kamala under 40% in terms of likelihood to vote. We've not seen that since she entered the race. Pretty, again, not where you want to be 7 days out. And I think we've got the Economist for, yes, we do. I thought I put in there. The Economist forecast here with just a little, let's see, they got, 1027. They're giving, they gave just a month ago, they gave Kamala a 60% chance of winning the presidency. Look at it today as of 10/12, as of 10/27. It's now Trump 55-45. And that's hard for the Economists. They're hardcore globalists. They're British from across the pond. And they the Economists, let's just say, are rather anti-Trump. They are not. They're certainly not rooting for Trump, to say the least. So it looks like Arizona is gone, Nevada is gone, Georgia appears to be gone. By the way, keep your eye on Duval County. We've talked about that before. Duval is a bellwether for Georgia. So Duval is the uppermost. If I recall, it's the uppermost. It's Jacksonville. It's the uppermost county of Florida, and borders. It's contiguous, as they say, with Georgia. And if Duval tends to go left, Georgia goes left. If Duval goes right, Georgia goes right. So Duval went for Biden in 2020, which is rare, but it did. Duval now apparently is plus 3.4 Republican. So that's very, very, I mean, again, the latest accurate polling that we follow generally sees Georgia going at least 4 points for Biden. Might be even more than that. So Georgia, for Trump. Did I say Biden? Oh my, it's too late in the day today. North Carolina is gone. She's pulled her money out of that. She's pouring it. She's trying to defend Virginia. I mean, let that hit you. 7 days before the election, Kamala is trying to defend Virginia. This is why our good friend, the data analyst Seth Keshel, is arguing that the real swing states now have shifted. It's not the big seven. It's New Hampshire, it's Virginia, it's Maine, it's Minnesota, it's New Mexico. At this point, I mean, again, forget the Sunbelt states, the 4 Sunbelt states. It's growing increasingly likely that she's not even going to come close in any of them. We're seeing the same thing. We're seeing Trump pull away with it in Pennsylvania. Looks like he's opening up a 4-point lead. Michigan, same thing, about 2 to 3 to 4. It's depending. Rich Barris has got it 3.5. Wisconsin, 2 to 3 point lead. Remember, Wisconsin tends to vote within 9, always inside 9, never outside 9 of Iowa. And Iowa, it looks like Trump is now up 11. So that would be Iowa plus 2. So I don't see, I don't know if you've seen the turnout from what's called the WOW counties in Wisconsin. That's Waukesha and Zauke and Washington. These are red, deep red counties. Wow, WOW. They actually have right now 12% turnout advantage over liberal Dane County, where Madison is. So again, Republicans are absolutely just crushing it in early voting. So the polling that's coming out right now does confirm that the swing states may indeed be shifting. So, for example, our good friend Mark Mitchell over at Rasmussen, he's got a poll that shows that New Hampshire is now a toss-up. Rasmussen also has Virginia within 2 points. They're finding actually, Virginia is within the margin of error. We actually had polling the other day that showed that Trump was in the lead in New Hampshire and that they were neck and neck in Virginia as well. So a lot of corroborating polls showing that this thing is, it's just showing that the swing states have shifted. We've got the latest coming out of Minnesota. Do we have that, Mike? I don't know if I gave that to you. Minnesota polling has Trump within 2.6 of Harris. There we go. I thought I sent that over to you. 2.6 in Minnesota, a state that went with Mondale, for heaven's sake. Minnesota, I don't even know what to say. It's within 2.6 in Minnesota. This isn't Wisconsin. This isn't Pennsylvania. This isn't Michigan. This is Minnesota. Minnesota is not supposed to be a swing state right now. But the freaky thing for Kamala is Minnesota has been tending to vote to the right of Virginia. So both 2016 and 2020, the Democrat margin was much smaller in Minnesota than it was in Virginia. Trump came very close in 2016 to snatching Minnesota. But alas, Kamala is struggling with it now. Yeah. And I was going to say, I've got in my notes here. Guess which Democrat was the last Democrat to struggle with Minnesota within margin of error? Yes, it would have been Hillary Clinton. She just won it by 2% back in 2016. So this is a very, very ominous poll for sure. But again, regardless, when all is said and done, if Kamala is struggling in Minnesota, if she's struggling in Virginia, if she's struggling in New Mexico, I mean, kiss goodbye the big seven swing states that always vote to the right of any one of those states. This is the last position she ever wanted to be in. She wanted to be in Biden's position in 2020. That's the ideal position for the Democrat, given that Biden only won by 40,000 votes. You want to be at the very least in that position. You want to be, if you're a Democrat, you want massive, massive margins in New York. Remember, Biden won New York by 23 points. Massive margins, double-digit margins in Jersey, Connecticut, in Delaware. You want to be up 10 in Virginia. You want to be up 11 in New Mexico. That's how much Biden won New Mexico with. You want to shore up your own base. You want to be solid in your solid blue states. And then that enables you to take that momentum and energy into the swing states, which is exactly what Biden did, at least to an extent. But when literally all of your margins in your solid blue states are shrinking, when you're getting barely half the support that the Democrat is supposed to get, for example, and say in New York, well, what do you think is going to happen with the margin, the Democrat margin in Eastern Pennsylvania? If half of a double-digit margin has shrunk in New York, what do you think is happening to your vote in Eastern Pennsylvania? Remember, Western and Mid Pennsylvania didn't move very much between 2016 and 2020. All that movement was in Eastern Pennsylvania, right? Scranton Joe. Well, Scranton Joe's gone. Now we got California Kamala. With half the margins that Joe had, what do you think that's going to do in the precise place in Pennsylvania that had all the movement between 2016 and 2020? So if you're struggling with your blue states, then you've lost, by definition, you have lost the momentum and energy needed to take on the swing states. If Harris's margins in New York have been cut in half, Pennsylvania is basically gone. This is why Trump is doing rallies this week in New Hampshire. So why he's doing a rally in Albuquerque, New Mexico on Thursday. He's doing a rally in Virginia. He's doing a rally in Minnesota. Right? This is the besieging of Leningrad, basically. It shows that he has solidified his base. He has maximized his margins in his home states, his red states, so that he now has the momentum and energy to even expand the swing state map. That's the power that comes from solidifying your own base. And that's precisely what the stand-in Democrat candidate who just got selected 100 days ago continues to struggle with. And that's what we want. That's what we want. Kamala struggling with her base, struggling with trying to win the black vote, struggling to try to win the Latino vote, struggling to try to get the vote out in urban areas, struggling in otherwise reliably blue states like New Hampshire and Virginia, Minnesota, New Mexico. It's called reeling. It's called retreating. It's called being on the defense. And that is exactly what appears to be happening as the election data continues to come on in. We often talk about how we can maintain and build up the conservative way of life. And one crucial aspect of that is your routine. Staying strong physically and mentally isn't just about living longer, it's about living better. I partnered with Beam because they're a health and wellness company that's put in the time and rigorous research to craft science-backed solutions that truly optimize every system in your body from the moment you wake up until you lay your head down to sleep. More specifically, I've been using Beam Dream for a while now, and it's completely changed the way I sleep. I'm a horrible sleeper. I used to toss and turn while my mind raced through the night. But since taking Dream, gang, I fall asleep much faster and even sleep all throughout the night. It's a game changer. Beam Dream is made with the highest quality sleep-promoting ingredients to help you unwind and get the deep sleep you need and deserve. It's become a nightly ritual of mine. I look forward to it each and every day. Plus, I never wake up feeling groggy the next morning. I even wake up before my alarm sometimes, which is something I never used to do. I have the best deal I've ever had with Beam, so now's your time to give Dream a try. Shop early access to Beam's biggest sale ever, and get this, get up to 50% off site-wide for a limited time when you use promo code Turley. Yes, that's half off, gang. Don't miss out on this offer. Click the QR code on the screen or use the link below to propel your wellness journey to the next stage today.
And let me start with feelings, and let me start with the women here about Kamala Harris.
She's a woman of color. I'm not putting her down because of that, and I'm not putting her down because she's a woman. I'm not a feminist, so I'm sorry. But at the end of the day, I don't think that she has the personality. I don't think that she has what it takes to go up against Putin and go up against these other presidents that are built for this. I don't want to be scared because my president is scared. I want my president to feel secure and manly and about it.
We brought up gender, right? Like, do you think it matters that she's a woman and people aren't comfortable having a woman in a top leadership role?
No, I don't think that, because most men, they love their mothers. They love their wives. So as a woman, most men, they respect the woman, but she just don't have the qualification or the education to really run America, because she don't have the experience. She don't understand our struggles. And for me to believe you for another 4 years, you're crazy.
Right.
Like, you're crazy. You're saying the same thing that you said 4 years ago.
So the fact that she's the vice president
That's
to
just
you
the
is
bottom line.
You're like, you've been here, you've had a chance.
Yes.
Well, for me, the very first time I ever heard the name Kamala Harris, it was in association to locking up parents for truancy. That was the first time I ever heard of her name. And I really didn't understand how this person claims to be a black woman, but yet she's locking up black women and black men and separating families.
This is a thing that is, Trump talks about this a lot. He says, you know, Kamala Harris became black when it was convenient.
Right.
Yeah.
Can you Can you talk to me about, do you agree with him on that? Do you feel like she's wearing her blackness?
Absolutely. She's sworn into when she sworn to the Senate, it was as the first Indian American.
Thank you.
Which is, it's fine. We don't care.
We all know she's not black. Let's understand that. We are all clear of that. But my point of view is, like I told you earlier, she's already been there. She's in office right now.
Oh, man. Hey, gang, it's me, Dr. Steve. And if you've been with this channel for some time now, and if not, make sure to smack that bell and subscribe button. But you know that we've been highlighting the extraordinary paradigm shift that's underway with the Trump campaign. We've seen similar paradigm shifts and realignments happening in Europe as well, with the rise of nationalist populist candidates. But we're seeing all kinds of realignments here in the United States, where traditional demographic voting blocks are recalibrating. We've seen new alliances, traditional Republicans becoming traditional Democrats becoming Republicans. A Kennedy is now a Republican, or at least Republican aligned. Neocon rhinos are finally leaving the party in droves so they can go off and start their wars with somebody else. And we are seeing the single biggest shift among the non-white working class towards the Republicans in half a century. And that shift is happening particularly among Black men, especially those under the age of 50 who are moving to Trump in droves. Now, to say it's absolutely epic would be an understatement. Joining me today to speak specifically about this issue is Jonathan McQuay. He is the national spokesman for the Stop Kamala Project. Jonathan, it's an honor to have you here. Thanks for being with us.
I appreciate you having me on today.
Oh, it's our pleasure and it's our honor. So, Jonathan, you're on the front lines. By the way, I think that clip was from Philadelphia, which is in my neck of the woods. I live 20 minutes from Biden's basement, basically. And I mean, I'm sorry, I could watch that like 20 times and it doesn't get old. Just the way you see that reporter trying to make sense. What do I do here? I've got to explain to everybody here, you're not allowed to think that way. But the genie's out of the bottle. You're on the front lines of the battle for the Black vote. It's going through a remarkable paradigm shift right now. So, I mean, this is historic. From your perspective, what's going on? Why are we seeing so many Black voters leaving the Democrat Party right now?
Well, I'll start by saying I'm really surprised that they posted that. I'm surprised that they allowed that to air. That's, oof, man, that made my palms sweat. It's good that we get a little good journalism coming in on the tail end of the election. But no, Black Americans are no longer buying into it. The Democrats have had a stronghold on the Black community for quite some time. And I think that them managing the economy as bad as they did is really the main factor. I mean, coupled with the fact that the majority of sanctuary cities are housed in areas that are predominantly occupied by Black people. Residents of Chicago, residents of New York. I think it's a lot different for them when your cities are being flooded. And we know that they like to occasionally manipulate the numbers, but when you're boots on the ground and you're coming outside and you're seeing these migrant shelters pop up on top of the fact that you see homeless people in the streets that may possibly well look like you, I think the Democrats have managed things really poorly, and Black Americans in general are rejecting the narrative of mainstream media. I think that's also a big part of it as well. Platforms like yours allow us to digest information and get it directly without the propaganda being included. So that's a big part of it as well.
Yeah. Dang. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I from my armchair, I've read the studies that Black vote in particular is, whenever you ask, how much is border security, how important is it to you? You see the Black votes just skyrocket, huge, important. And again, that just doesn't fit the, it doesn't fit the liberal narrative. That's where, well, wait a minute now, if you're non-white, we're going to lump you all into these identity politics that are all by definition on the left, all victimized, and we're all going to be together, right? And it's like, no, wait, well, how about if we have a different paradigm of, hey, I'm an American. I have an obligation to this country, and this country has an obligation to me. And I don't like the fact that people who shouldn't even be here in the first place are actually getting treated better than I am. and getting job opportunities at entry level positions where they're getting $1 an hour under the table, and then disenfranchising economically citizens of the country. Are you seeing that? Is that the economy and the border sort of mixed together? It's almost like they're inseparable in what you're noticing. Yeah.
Absolutely, and it's kind of tough for Democrats because, okay, so let's see, you, a white male, comments on the border is considered racism, but when you have the Black community now having a problem with it and a big portion of your constituency, then you have to pivot, and it's almost to the point where I feel like Kamala Harris kind of didn't know what to do, so she had to outsource us getting yelled at and scolded to Obama and some of her surrogates. I feel like Obama was yelling at me like my mother. So yeah, I mean, it's getting to the point now where Black Americans are aware, and so Trump got hitting a big backlash from it when he said Black jobs, but that's just the nature of it. There's certain positions and jobs within the country that Black Americans hold at a higher capacity. So you're challenging our jobs, you're flooding our neighborhoods. For the ones that are part of the social safety net, you're also absorbing benefits,
absolutely,
all the way across the board. Yeah, so you can't flood a city with millions of people and the people that live there not have some sort of negative backlash from it. So yeah, it's been really interesting to see. Immigration has been a huge one. My sister lives in Chicago, and there's a big wave of people switching parties. I'm a former Democrat myself, so I was led to the Republican platform just based off of a lot of it dealing with my Christian conservative values. But they just seem like they've lost their way and they've really gone rogue with some of the liberal agendas.
Yeah, you and I seem to have at least a similar story. I was in college. I was a hardcore lib in college, and then had a Christian conversion, and that was part of it. That I said, I can't continue to be part of this political system that's such a moral mess.
Everybody's a liberal till they have to pay taxes.
That's another one. Yes, that's a good way of putting it.
We all start a little liberal.
We all start a little liberal. That's right. Me. I want. And then when you're a conservative, wait a minute. No, I have to give. I have responsibilities. I have obligations. It's really interesting too, because in the European paradigm shift that's happening, they call it welfare chauvinism. And it's a technical term. It's a strange term, but it's a technical term where even left-wing parties, very socialist parties in Europe, are adopting the notion that only citizens can get public benefits. If you're an immigrant, you are not allowed to get a public benefit at all until you become a citizen. And it's part of the backlash even among Europeans, is saying, wait a minute, guys, I'm a citizen of this country. I have obligations, but you have obligations to me, and you can't keep spending those obligations out like the poor people in Western North Carolina found out the hard way in terms of relief, from FEMA. Nope, sorry, we don't have any money because we're spending too much money on illegal immigrants. So we're seeing the backlash internationally from the very same thing that's affecting the particular, or at least most intensely, the Black demographic. Jonathan, the stats I've read is that the real paradigm, and obviously you're embodying it here, the real paradigm shift, political paradigm shift, is happening among Black men under the age of 50. So we're talking upwards of 1 in 3, 30% now are turning Trump. I don't know how Republican they're turning, because Republicans always have a way of messing it up, but they're definitely going Trump. And can you corroborate that? Are you finding that there is a significant shift among more first the Black male and the young Black male?
Yes, absolutely. So working with the Stop Kamala projects, our platform is for the blackpeople.com. We've had a big turnout. So kind of similar to the bet market, and some of the letters and some of the people that have reached out to us. How do you know how people really feel and if they really support the movement is if they are willing to donate their hard-earned money. So with that, also our internal numbers here, we've had some really good turnout. I'm really interested to see how the Lehigh Valley swings out in the end of things, because Black males in general, the way things look on our end is that Trump's going to capture the biggest sample size of any modern Republican, which I think is huge. And I think a big part of it is, so this is the way I always look at it, and this is I frame it to people that I have this conversation with that don't want to talk the numbers, and we talk from just ideology and platform perspective. Majority of Black males and Black people in general grow up in Christian conservative values, and then as time goes on, every 4 years somehow we vote against those interests. So that's a big part of it, and that's usually where we start the conversation. And the Democrats, because some of their policies, I mean, we reach out. I know you got your chat going on right now. Let's reach out to the chat and see how many people want to have state-funded sex changes, or how many people want to send their hard-earned tax dollars to Ukraine. As time goes on, the Democrats have gotten so rogue and far off of populist thought process. And Black Americans, I think that we've seen the biggest turnout with them, and some of the Black males. I've been kind of astonished, honestly, in the process of doing this, is just because the trickle-down effect. So they feel it the worst when it comes to jobs, when it comes to housing, when it comes to all these basic necessities. And then on top of it, we are positioned in a spot where we have no leverage because it's assumed that the Democrats will get our vote. So I think that they will see this will be a huge shift. And I'm hoping it's something that will be a permanent fixture moving forward.
A real realignment. Yeah. A definite
realignment.
Yeah. That would be, yeah, we'd be unstoppable. And we have a true populist realignment there. Yeah. I've always heard, populism redefines the political divide. The political divide is usually left versus right, liberal versus conservative, or they'll do it racially, white versus black, all that. But the populists, they just flip that divide on its head, and they move the horizontal divide to a vertical divide: people versus political class, the ruled versus rulers, the ordinary American versus the oligarch. It's really interesting because I find I try to tell, I know a lot of people that do not like Trump. And when I kind of probe as to why that is, I find that they're still thinking like with they measure his rhetoric with the horizontal divide. So, he's a fascist and he's a, Nazi and all that.
CNN talking points is what you're saying,
CNN
right?
talking points, when all said and done, CNN talking points. Yeah. And then when I said, no, but what if we were to do this? What if we were to say, don't look at him in the horizontal divide? How about if it's people versus political class? How about if it's Americans versus globalists, a globalist managerial elite? Now does it sound a little different? And I've noticed people, I never thought about it that way, kind of stuff. And that's that political realignment that is so,
what we call it record versus rhetoric. And that you're right. So in these conversations that I'm having, Democrats are really good at marketing and mechanics. So they own the news and they own sometimes the narrative a lot of times. But like you said, the perfect example is when you flip it upside down. So I always like to start with the numbers, especially when I'm dealing with individuals, Black or minorities. I show them. So from 2022 to now, the Black wealth gap has exploded. Things like the Black unemployment rate. Men lie, women lie, they lie, them lie, but the numbers do not. So when you look at the numbers, you can't say that the Democrats are for Black people, and then adversely that Trump is against them when Black individuals in general were doing far better, as were the rest of Americans. And you almost have to look at it like that. You have to frame it like that. I like to bring the analogy of going to work, where, okay, we're going to a boss that smiles every day and he shakes your hand and he's real nice, but the pay's bad. He's bringing in third-party workers that are messing up the workplace. Do you work for that guy, or do you work for the guy that doesn't say much and sits in his office and maybe is a little boisterous in how he handles things, but your life are better, you're able to provide for your family, there's upward trajectory? I frame it in that way a lot of times, and sometimes it's a little more obtainable for people to kind of understand and grasp that concept.
Yeah, it's more relatable. Yeah, no, I like that. Yeah, I like that a lot. Do you think this election is going to be different from years past? We've seen the Black vote. We've seen some very promising numbers, sort of that 30% support for the Republican. But it receded. By the time you get to the elections, we go back to, it goes back to like the 10. I guess it's the stats I've looked at. It's It's 60% black women, 40% black men. So even if the men are moving more in a general electorate, even if black men are moving more the Republicans, it tends to get diluted by the majority of black women. So it tends to go down to, at best, maybe 10%, 8% support Republican. Do you think this year's different? Do you think this is it? We're going to really start to see the breakthrough?
I do. I hope you're sitting down. I hope your viewers are sitting down. With the group that we're dealing with, and for the blackpeople.com, we're looking at about 20%. That's the number. 20%. I know that's a big number,
that's
but
double.
yeah, I'm really feeling it. We've gotten some positive feedbacks, and people have been really inclined to share it. At one point, when I started this mission, I've been working on this for years, but the last 6 months to a year, people were a little hesitant to talk. I mean, as a Black American, there's a lot of pressure, as you can imagine, in social issues when it comes to when you start to think a different way. But we've had a bunch of support, and I've had conversations with thousands of people, and this spans across a lot of different swing states. And the way it looks from our internal polling, we're looking at about 20%. Book it.
You know, that it is
you heard
awesome.
it here first.
I love it. I love it because I think it aligns with Rich Barris, the People's Pundit. Oh, what state was he? I can't even remember what state it was that he was polling. Well, a particular, I think it was a particular or a group of states.
Mm-hmm.
And again, it was the 60-40 breakdown: women, men, black women, black men. Trump was 1-3 with black men. And he had gained among black women. He actually gained in 2020. I did not know that among black women. But yeah, it was hitting like 12, 13, 14%, something like that, black women. So when you aggregate it out, that's exactly, I think he had it right around 20%. So there's some corroboration for you, man. That is, yeah. Now, if that's true, dude, if that's true, Kamala's toast.
Yeah.
I mean,
even if we're talking 15, 16,
yeah,
we're thinking in that range. And we've branched off with this project, and we've gone into some other demographics, specifically Hispanic voters, and we're seeing a pretty good turn of that. It's kind of hard to grasp. We haven't put as much mechanics into that to see, but it's looking good support. There's actually a rally. I'm not sure if you're aware. So I'm in Allentown, Pennsylvania, and Trump has a rally across the street. So I was boots on the ground this morning, and we had some other interviews going on. And it's the greatest feeling ever to see the support. I was kind of interested to see Lehigh Valley is in the city, and as we always know, city areas always tend to sway a little blue. But the amount of support in a pretty or formerly pretty democratic area, it's pretty awesome. So there's different shades. I'm really interested to see how liberal news covers it later. Small rally in Allentown, or what kind of soundbite they take out of it, but it's a beautiful thing going on outside. After this interview, I'm gonna head outside and rally up. So
oh, that's awesome. That's right. Puerto Ricans most affected. You know, so let's
the Hispanic voters outside. We have a huge demographic of Hispanic voters in Allentown, and that's the part that really caught me off guard. All different shapes, sizes, colors, creeds, religions. So
it's beautiful.
Good. I'm feeling real good about it. The red wave is coming.
Oh man, that's awesome. I'm curious. You mentioned the now infamous Obama tongue lashing in Pittsburgh a few weeks back. How would you characterize the Democrats' attempt at trying to, I mean, obviously pretty desperately galvanize black voters in this campaign cycle? I mean, that's the way it came across to me with Obama. He was upset. What are you doing? Why am I even having to lecture you here? It's like, how would you characterize the Democrats' attempt to galvanize the black vote?
I think it kind of shows that they're losing their footing. So they took some time, and they were presenting a more positive message for some time. So when Biden was in, it was the Hitler rhetoric, it was the doomsday, the boogeyman. And when Kamala transitioned, they tried to take it a more positive direction. And she tried to trickle in a little bit of policy. But I think now that they've backed into the corner, they're going back to the boogeyman rhetoric. So I think it really shows their card in the sense that they're bringing out all the big guns. When I seen that Beyonce was coming out, I was waiting for it. I was like, how long before Taylor Swift and Beyonce come out? That's when we'll know where we stand. And I mean, as much as it could be a little interesting to the other side, I think that it's a good sign for the Republicans if they're going to bring out the big dogs. The final boss is coming out to do the final scolding to cancel Christmas. So I think that tells a story in itself. I'm seeing Michelle Obama and Barack Obama on my TV every night yelling at me. So it tells a story. It tells a story. And they don't seem very happy. He looked pissed.
Yeah. He does. He looks pissed, and right. There is I think he has obviously very sophisticated political sense. I think he's getting a sense there is a paradigm shift happening here, and he doesn't. There's no stopping to it. Stopping it. It's bigger than any one person. That's we'll have to see how he reacts to it, but. Jonathan, what can our listeners do to help you and the work, the amazing work you're doing at Stop Kamala campaign?
Please visit the website. The website it's a comprehensive spreadsheet of information. I feel like I've spoke about it prior. The media is tough sometimes, and we all know it's very one-sided. So our website gives your viewers and everybody out there an opportunity to go look at the data, see it for yourself. And it gives people an opportunity to have some insight on what Kamala and Joe Biden have been up to. It's not that they didn't do anything, but they raised money to send to Ukraine. They raised money to stimulate job growth in Honduras and Mexico and a bunch of other things. So you should be aware of that before you cast your ballot. So visit fortheblackpeople.com and the Stop Kamala Project.
It's awesome. And gang, the link is down below.
I want to share something with you real quick. There was a vendor outside, and I thought this was pretty cool. So.
I love it.
Yeah, man. Fight. I appreciate you having me on, boss.
Oh, Jonathan, it's our pleasure. Gang, make sure you click on that link below or visit the site directly fortheblackpeople.com. Fortheblackpeople.com. Let's help Jonathan help Donald Trump get elected to his most epic landslide ever. You're the best, Jonathan. Please come back soon.
Absolutely.
Gang, as you know, we look out for each other on this channel. Your safety and your security are our #1 priority. So if you haven't secured the deed to your home as of yet, you need to click on that link below right now and protect yourself and your loved ones. I was absolutely shocked when I found out how easy it is to access the deed to my house, and not just access it, but actually change it. The deed to your home is the only document that proves you own it. But the problem is that all our deeds are now online, and criminals are free to find your deed, forge your signature, refile as the new homeowner, take out tons of loans using your home's equity, and then they stick you with all the debt. But that's where our good friends over at Home Title Lock come in. Gang, they're simply amazing. Home Title Lock gives you the peace of mind that the deed to your home is absolutely and completely protected 24/7. Click on that link below right now. Use promo code TurleyTalks. Then all you got to do is enter your address for your no obligation home title scan to see if you've already been a victim of deed theft. It's a $100 value, absolutely totally free with my promo code TurleyTalks. Gang, don't wait for the worst to happen only to regret you didn't do something about it when you could have. Do what I've done. Do what countless patriots have done. Click on that link below right now and secure your home today.